So there's a section called FAQs on their website. Read the FAQs, not just once, twice, thrice, but 4 to 5 times. Know exactly what is it they're looking for. Hi, everyone. This is Career Bolt and I'm Vinod. After posting a video last time about the Quad Fellowship, there have been a couple of questions from students asking me more information about how to write the essays and the statement of purpose for the Quad Fellowship program. So if you're not watched the Quad Fellowship video, go forward, watch it. And if you look at the comments, you can see what I'm talking about. A lot of the students are yet to apply for graduate school in the US, so they seem to be a little confused in terms of what do you write in a statement of purpose and what do you write in the essays. So let's look at the statement of purpose in terms of what that means. I have one more link to a statement of purpose, which I'm going to share with you folks. But in essence, a statement of purpose is nothing but an expression of interest in terms of telling your personal story about why you want to be considered for these programs. So you want to talk about a bunch of things in your statement of purpose. So you want to talk about why is it that you want to apply to this specific university? Why do you want to apply to this specific program? So these are very important questions which need to be covered. For example, if you say you're interested in, say, biomedical engineering, there are a bunch of schools you could apply to. You could apply to, say, Johns Hopkins University, which is #1 in the world. You could apply to schools like Cornell, Stanford. These are very good schools. So if you say you're going to apply to, say, Purdue University for a master's or a PhD in biomedical engineering, you have to really bring out the reason why you're applying there. Is it because you've done your research in terms of the specific research groups at Purdue, where you've seen faculty doing very good work? Do you want to participate in such work? So why that specific university? That is something you have to cover. And also you need to talk about why this specific program, why a master's program instead of a PhD, or why a PhD instead of a master's. So what's your motivation? What's your passion? What do you want to do in the long term? If you say that I want to get a job, then it may make more sense for you to apply for a master's program rather than a PhD program. So those are the places where you need to shed more light in terms of what is your motivations. So if your academic record is strong, you have very good research internships, you have a good publication record, then it probably makes you a better candidate for a PhD program. So those are the things you talk about for these two questions. The other questions you also need to touch on is, what is your academic background? So look at it from the view of the professors and the evaluation committee. When they're taking you in, they expect you to have a basic understanding of the undergraduate coursework before you go in for a master's program. Likewise, you're applying for a PhD program, they want you to understand that you have the basics of an undergrad degree and a master's degree before you go in for a PhD degree. So if you want to jump from an undergrad degree to a PhD program, you have to prove to the admissions committee that you really have the basics, you understand what's being taught in the master's program, and you have enough knowledge to jump into the PhD program. The reason is that nobody wants to invest more time on you to train you from scratch. Suppose you don't have an understanding of the basics of the PhD program, you have to be trained from the beginning. Somebody has to invest in you and mentor you and make you do a lot of classes by the time you go for a PhD program. So the understanding is that if you prove that you have the academic background, it makes this journey much easier. The last, most important component of SOP is that it's very, very critical that you understand that MS, PhD programs, postdoc programs, being a professor in the US, it's all about just one topic, which is research. So even if you're looking at the other components I mentioned, like why this university, why this program, what's our academic background, all these things are secondary if you can make a great case for yourself in terms of you having fantastic research credentials. So research is what you have to absolutely focus on. You have to make a case that you have done prior work in the past. You know what it is to conduct experiments and do research. Professors don't want to train you from scratch. You always want to say that you come in with some prior experience and knowledge, and then you want to build upon it. Likewise, if you have a very good publication record, if you know exactly what is it you're targeting, if you've already been in touch with professors in the sector, if they can write you good letters of recommendation, you already have one foot in the door when it comes to PhD programs. So these are the things you target to make sure that you have a very good statement of purpose. So as long as you touch upon why this college, why this program, your academic background, and your research credentials, you are pretty much a fit for any PhD or master's program. The catch is that if you want to apply for a master's program, you don't need to focus that much on research. You can just say that I want to work in industry and get away with it. But if you say that you want to work in industry, the intent of a PhD program is to train you for a professional life in a postdoc setting as a professor. So just keep that in mind. Let's move on to the other topic, which is the Quad Fellowship Program and what is the essays in terms of how do you flesh it out. So I am not an official representative of the Quad Fellowship Program, so I can make a guess in terms of what that means, but again, I'm not an official spokesperson, so take my words with a pinch of salt. First and most importantly, go to their website and read the information about the Quad Fellowship in lots of detail. So there's a section called FAQs on their website. Read the FAQs, not just once, twice, thrice, but 4 to 5 times. Know exactly what is it they're looking for, because then you can craft your application letters and essays in such a way that it stands out. For example, when I looked at the website, I came across this component, which is quadfellowship.org/apply. If you look under that, they specifically mention what is it they're looking for. They're looking for 4 parameters in terms of the evaluation process. First of all, they're looking at academic excellence. Second one is passion for developing society. The third one is capacity to bridge differences. And the fourth one is orientation towards results. So whatever you write, you have to highlight each one of these components. And I'm sure that even if your professors are giving you recommendation letters, they also need to touch upon a bunch of these things, specifically the academic excellence part of it and how you are the right person to bridge differences and bring people together. So that's something which professors need to also touch on. Let's get into the details of what each one of these components are and how you can write a fantastic essays and help yourself to get noticed. Again, one more detour before we get in. There are just 100 scholarships available, which means that there are 25 scholarships per country. So there is India, Australia, US, and Japan who are part of Quad. And there are just 25 fellowships for Indian students. So you have to stand out from all the applicants in India, which means that when you write your essays, you need to show prior experiences in terms of what you've done in the past, which makes it more credible. If you're just future focused, it's more difficult to sell the story. Maybe even in a small way, if you've done some of these things in terms of bringing the world closer and more interconnected, and if you advance the principles of what the Quad stands for, then you stand a better chance. It's great to say that you'll do all these great things in the future, but then if you begin to do things maybe in a nonprofit in the past, those are things you want to write about. Also, they are looking for people who are not just bookworms and not just people who will work in, say, a research setting as a postdoc or would work in a company to solve problems. They're also looking at people who are looking at rechanging the world and creating a better world for everyone out there. So if you are a future Elon Musk in the making, then you've got a great essay. That's the way I look at it. Again, I could be wrong, but the more you differentiate yourself and draw a big picture, the more you're going to stand out. Okay, let's come back to the 4 parameters. The first component is academic excellence in STEM, which is academic excellence in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So you should have original research done under your name, preferably as publications or good research with renowned professors in the sector, or you should have a good grade point average. So academic success can be looked at in different ways. So look at your profile, ask yourself, have you done good work in the past? Do you think you're much better than everyone else in terms of grades, research experience, research exposure, research internships, or publications? Think about it. It could be either an academic setting or an industry setting. The second component is passion for the intersection of science, society, and policy. So it's not just about your interest in the sciences, but it's also about how you make it relevant in terms of impact on society and people. So can you influence government policy? Can you influence society in some way or the other? So think about it. This goes back to the fact that you should be a well-groomed individual. you should have understood what the significance of research is and how this can impact the world in the future. For example, if I say that artificial intelligence and machine learning is going to change multiple sectors in the future, like civil and mechanical engineering. Now, can you be a person who can write an essay in terms of how you can help with your understanding of AI and ML and your expertise? Can you be a force for good in terms of making the change positive in the future? So those are some of the big picture changes in society and how you can play a role in terms of making the world better. So again, your research you have done, your internships you have done, your academic indicators of commitment, for example, work with nonprofits, with the research institutions. Those are things which prove that you have an interest in these areas. The third component is capacity to bridge differences. In terms of when people from different backgrounds come together, are you able to pull everyone together and work towards a common solution? So can you bring the world and society closer together? So look at examples from your past where you've done this work and continue to think about how you can make the world a better place, and talk about how you can flesh it out through your essays. The last component is orientation towards the results. So this is nothing but what have you done in terms of results, not just about doing, say, a research project, but also taking it to a successful conclusion. So can you talk about your track record, your previous experience in terms of being able to influence a project or a program and come up with successful results? So as long as you make it action oriented, and whoever have watched my channel in the past, I always say this, that when you write your resume, talk about it in terms of the STAR framework, the situation, task, actions, and results. So the results component is always where you have made an impact in terms of productivity, efficiency, and positive results. So use numbers, use numbers like I saved X lakh rupees, X million dollars. I improved productivity by 25%. You connected with 25 stakeholders and you're able to make sure that the product life cycle time reduced by X%. So when you say this words like percent, efficiency, productivity, those are things which make your application stand out. So orientation results is also the other component of what I'm talking about. So best of luck. Hopefully you write very good letters of recommendations, and you have worked with your professor in terms of crafting your recommendation letters, your statement of purpose, your essays, and do apply by the end of this month. There's an early deadline. If you get accepted, you again have to apply to a graduate school separately, but I suspect that your grad school application will become much easier once you get this fellowship, and then you can end up applying to the best schools in the world, whether it's Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Berkeley, Cornell, and so on. So go ahead, apply to the scholarship. Let me know in the comments below if you have further questions. All the best, folks.